Now, in this section, we would discuss the spatial information and simple and generic queries regarding spatial information and offer response for better and informed understanding. First, the example of spatial data. I would say spatial information or spatial data is information that has a geographic aspect to it. In other words, the data in this type of information represents particular space over the earth denoted by coordinates or an address like name of a city or even postal code or zip code, etc. that needs to be tagged with them. The most obvious example is any road map. The next can be the how user utilize this spatial information. As we have mentioned earlier also, that traditionally geographers use spatial information to depict relationships of time, space and scale. Now this geographer's analysis relationship among the other geographers analyze relationships among and between places to reveal important spatial patterns. They also analyze complex issues and relationship with a distinctively spatial perspective. So what is the difference between geographic information and spatial information? This is one very obvious question which will come to your mind because GIS is so popular in modern day that this spatial information would have to work extra to gain its place in academics and in research field. I would say the difference between geographic information and spatial information is that GIS is a technology that allows for the capture, management, analysis and visualization of spatial data. Here geospatial refers to anything having to do with geography and space. While spatial information user emphasizes on their attributes, the phenomena which are related with that specific geographic space. So information to add value to their outcomes by adding the location. So that is where I would say the difference between GIS and spatial information lies. So why this spatial information is important? The spatial information relates the location to where any phenomena, any event, any object or commodity exists. This spatial information enables us to make sense of the world and is a fundamental and important element of everyday life. Now the next question might come as why spatial thinking is important in modern time. I would say spatial thinking allows us to understand the location and dimension of the object or the phenomena and how these are related to each other. It also allows us to visualize and manipulate, if possible, manipulate objects and shapes in our understanding. So spatial information is a broader field that encompasses geography as well as other disciplines also. And it involves the study of data and processes that occur in a space, including the use of tools and techniques to analyze and represent spatial information, which the GIS is also doing, which the geography is also doing, but we can incorporate the remotely sensed images also, the spatial statistics also, or we can also add our own information gathered through field surveys, etc. What are the examples of spatial information? I would say spatial information identifies the geographic location of features. Again, I would repeat that it identifies the geographic location of features. It means a lot. This information includes anything that can be associated with a location on the earth, or more simply, anything that can be represented and linked to any location. For example, roads, rivers, or addresses, etc. These all are types of spatial data. So here the question arises, how we can acquire this spatial information? Generally, spatial information is drawn through field observation, maps, photographs, and as we have mentioned earlier, like satellite imageries or sensors data. And there are many more ways also. It depends on the user's requirement and what is the possible option from where they can acquire these information. We may also rely on conducting research via surveys, interviews, and even focus group, etc. also. We can create and modify spatial information or even other visual representation of geographic location through media reports, um, travel narratives, policy documents, landscape analysis, and photographic interpretation, etc. etc. So all these can be the source of spatial information. So what does spatial information mainly consist of? I would say the spatial information can include data about people such as population, their income, their level of education which they have attained. It can include information about the landscape such as the location, the streams which are flowing nearby, different kinds of vegetation existed on that specific location, or more specifically different kinds of soil or people who are settled there and the kind of activity they are carrying out there. All of them, they are related with each other with that specific location, and that they all create the spatial information for that specific location. So what is the significance of distance in spatial information? The spatial distance refers to the measurement of the separation between two or more points in space, which can be measured also with the help of scale of depicting the spatial information. Then another question may come as to what is the most important spatial theme. I would say the spatial most important theme would be the spatial information based studies begin by learning the location of places. Location can be absolute or it can be relative also. The absolute location is which provides a definite reference for locating a place. So what is any example of spatial knowledge? I would say a person's activity space, the set of paths, places and regions traveled can be simple example of spatial information and spatial experiences that influences people's knowledge of space and place. Next can be how spatial analysis can be applied. As the first spatial analysis example, it involves examining space to identify, for example, the structures, the buildings at any location. For example, analysts may need to understand how many hospitals are available in a particular locality. This non-spatial query does not require knowledge of the physical location of a hospital. Then what is an example of spatial thinking in everyday life? Now this is a very interesting query which may come to your mind when we talk about spatial information. The spatial thinking in everyday life example, I would say, findings any way in the environment, the cognitive mapping, communicating information in graphs, diagrams, I mean to say visualization aspect is coming here, and using space to think about non-spatial phenomena. They are some very basic examples of our everyday spatial thinking. The next question can be, what is the most common general source for spatial data? The most important source of spatial data includes all the hard copy maps which exist with us, also known as, these hard copy maps are also known as analog maps. In modern day, Google Maps can also be one very important source of spatial information. The remotely sensed information in the form of aerial photographs and satellite imageries. Then the previously made maps and diagrams, graphs, etc. For example, point data, the samples of surveys, all of them can be the source of spatial data. The next question can be, what are the characteristics of spatial information? The important characteristics of spatial data and information are its measurement level, the scale, and associated topological information, how they are arranged in a geographic space. There can be nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. These are the 4 levels of measurement for populating the spatial information matrix. These will be dealt later in the coming lectures in detail. All of them, they hold different amounts of information and determine what analysis can be performed. To summarize, spatial information science is an emerging technology that brings together digital and physical worlds, allowing users to interact with computers in more seamless and immersive ways. It incorporates concepts like virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and extended reality. And these terms have distinct meanings. Just to elaborate, for example, virtual reality, which is a fully immersive visual environment that replaces real environments with virtual one. Whereas if I can explain you the augmented reality, it is a digital content overlaid onto the real world, allowing visibility of the real environment. The mixed reality, which is digital content overlaid onto the real world with interactive elements. Whereas extended reality, it is an umbrella term including all of the previously discussed, the virtual reality, the augmented reality, and the mixed reality. So the spatial information enables to learn about physical spaces. It collects data on human behavior and also man-nature relationship, how man is responding to the given physical condition, and optimize the processes. For example, in a smart city, built-up structures, open spaces, water bodies, the mobility and the larger environment, etc., etc., is spread into a geographic space of a city. And spatial information science assess how this spatial information is captured, organized, and analyzed, bridging computational, social, and natural sciences. So I mean to say here is that when we talk about only about smart city, then you need to conceptualize that what was the earlier situation, what is existence, and what is the planning which has been made. And all these information, when they are being captured, organized, and analyzed, bridging the computational and social response to the natural conditions, they would evolve a new kind of structure which, if effectively managed, may transform into smart city. And if we won't be able to effectively manage all these processes which is active in a city, then the reality of smart city will not be so effective. So that is what I would say in summing up the importance of spatial information science for all of us.